just sad.
It's very sad. And so
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. They're all right.
he's so excited.
Yes, I am. Please, Madam Clerk.
Call a meeting, let's call our meeting to order. Actually, we're just calling it, after roll call.
And I'll know that all 5 councilors are present.
Right.
That's good. That's all we need.
Okay.
No votes will be taken anyway.
Right. So we're here for this retreat to think together about the future of our city. Over the last year, we've worked on a lot of issues. We've gotten a lot of work done, but we haven't re-examined what you, this current council, would like to see as the vision statement of the city, or the mission statement for the city. You talked about a work plan that would flow from the vision, mission, value statement, etc. And we're going to work every day to get things done. We just present to the council, but we think it should all flow into a consistent plan so that we know where we're going. And we have measurements to know when we get there. So we are very pleased that we're at this point. We'll take these 2 parts of days to have a thorough discussion with the council, and the people around the room are part of the in-house working on a strategic plan, and I think you know all of them, but Sam and Ashley, and Missy, Mary Ann, Ms. Hamill and Chris Engel from Economic Development. And there's a role for them. They are critical parts of this discussion as well. Rely on them for input. You had some homework that we sent to you in advance. Hopefully it was sufficient time in advance, and you got a chance to noodle with it for a while. Our discussion leader will be Michelle Ferguson from Raptilus. And with her, you want to introduce your colleagues?
I will. My colleague Catherine Carter is one of my co-facilitators, along with Julie Giesecke, who is our visual facilitator.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, would you like to add some comments?
Only that I'm looking forward to it. Take it away.
Okay. So Michelle, let's get started.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It really is a pleasure to be with all of you this afternoon. The work that we have the privilege of doing with communities across the country, we believe really does start with really robust conversation around where you all want this community to go, what you hear from the community that's most important to them, so that you can develop a plan to move forward and ensure that the organization is in lockstep with you. And this is really an opportunity to begin really articulating what that future vision looks like, and then begin to put the pieces in place to make sure that that vision becomes a reality. And so Catherine and Julie and I look forward to these next 2 days with you all, really engaging you all in important conversation with each other as well as with staff, so that they can hear what's important to you through your vantage point in working with the community, as well as their vantage point in working with the organization and the community too. So just a little bit about our days, both today and tomorrow, in terms of our agenda. We have a full agenda for these 2 days, but I promise that we will take breaks, and we'll take break in just a little bit as well too, because I know there are some snacks outside, and I can smell them, and sitting while you're smelling and not being able to eat is just not a best practice. So we will spend just a few minutes here doing some introductions, and this is where I always warn staff that they are going to engage in some of this conversation as well too. So we'll do some introductions, and as the manager said, we did ask you to do a little bit of homework. The good news is we don't take any grades. The mayor said we're not voting, and that's very true, we're not voting, but we're also not taking grades, even though it is end of the year, and I know it's graduation weekend. But this is really an opportunity not only to begin to chart the course of the future of this community, but also to ensure that you all, as the elected leadership of this community, have a good understanding of what's important to each of you. And so I've asked you to kind of reflect on what you believe to be true and what you hope to be true about this community. So we'll spend a little bit of time hearing from each of you, and then talking about the roles that all of you play. Certainly, putting and articulating the vision and the strategic plan down on paper is critical. But obviously, you all will continue to have a role in that implementation along with staff. And ensuring that you have good practices in place as a governing body is really important to ensuring that vision ultimately gets realized. You will hear as we talk about strategic planning that we boil strategic planning down to 3 simple questions. Simple, but very complex in some ways. What do you know to be true today? What do you hope will be true in the future? And how are you going to get there? We're going to spend today and this evening really talking about what we know to be true today. So that will set up some of our conversations for tomorrow, which will be about what you hope will be true in the future. One of the ways that we'll do that is to share with you some of the data and metrics and information that we have pulled together in the environmental scan. You all have a copy of that. You've been shared that. I think there's maybe a copy in your binder as well too. A lot of those pieces of information and data that are in there are things that you've already seen. We want to talk about that perhaps a different way to help ground some of the conversation about knowing what's true today helps set up that conversation for what we hope will be true in the future. Then we hope everybody will have a good rest tonight and come back refreshed tomorrow morning believe must go well in order for the strategic plan, that vision that you all have for this community to be realized. So that's a little bit about what we'll do. We'll talk about next steps and all that tomorrow as well too, because certainly this is, while we have been, our team and working with staff have been at this for a while, this is certainly not the end of the process. There's a lot more steps in the process along the way, and we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow as well too. So in terms of norms, we always like to have a couple of key norms in terms of how we want to work together during our time together, both today and tomorrow. Certainly, we ask that you listen to each other with respect. And in today's day and age, that really means silencing your phones, attentive to the speaker. As I mentioned, we will take breaks. If you need to get up and stretch, because this is hard brain power that we're going to require of you over this day. We do invite you to be relaxed in this environment. It is being live streamed, so I always like to remind people of that, particularly during break times, that it's probably hard for you all not to see the camera right up here, but just in case, I think it's always important to remember that this conversation is being live streamed throughout today and tomorrow. I always like to remind people that you may hear things during the course of the conversation today or tomorrow that you may not agree with. That's okay. We ask that you engage in conversation in a way that allows you to disagree agreeably. And what I often invite you to do, or will invite you to do in this conversation, is when you do hear things that perhaps aren't your natural way of thinking about this community or about the future of your community, I will invite you to try some different ideas on for size. Since we're not taking votes and we're doing a lot of brainstorming and conversation, this is an opportunity to test some ideas. Part of that is also being bold. There are a large number of really important, great things that are happening today in the Charlottesville community. Those things didn't happen by accident. They happened because people like you, perhaps those that sat in seats in rooms kind of like this in the past, planted seeds that took many years to come to fruition. This is an opportunity to be bold and perhaps plant some seeds that may not come to fruition during your time in office, but that they're going to have lasting impact on this community. That's an exciting opportunity for us to engage in conversation like that. I'll ask you to look for those opportunities to agree. We're going to strive for consensus throughout the conversation today and tomorrow. And I always encourage people to remember the power of if and. When you hear ideas that may not necessarily be your natural inclination, thinking about how your ideas and somebody else's ideas can occupy same space together can be really powerful. And I love that word, if. If only, if. There's so many things that can come after that if we allow ourselves to think boldly about the future of this community. Are there any other norms that anyone else would like to add to this list in terms of how you want to operate together today and tomorrow? Y'all willing to agree with those?
It looks like a good list.
Good, good. Well, we'll revisit them from time to time, and then you can go back to your normal way of operating after. All right, so next what I wanted to share, it's a little bright. So I wanted to go around and just do some introductions and allow each of you to have an opportunity to put your voice in the room. And this is, I'm going to invite staff to do this as well too. Share with us just who you are. Obviously we know who you all are, but I think it's important just for the record to state your name. For staff, maybe a little bit about the department that you're with and perhaps how long you've been with the city. I think that's important. Most of the elected officials probably already know that, but I think it's helpful information. And then I'll invite you to share one expectation or hope you have about the time that you all will spend together tonight and tomorrow. I'll always invite the mayor to go first or last.
I'll go first. I'm Wood Snook, mayor, serving in my first term on city council. In terms of introduction, lived in Charlottesville for now 62 years. at least it's been my home for 62 years, not counting time away at college and law school. And one of the reasons that I decided that I wanted to run for council when I ran 4 years ago is the sense that things were falling apart in the upper reaches of the government, that I didn't think I could sit by any longer. And I have been pleased in the last couple of years to see between the leadership at the city manager's office and the way we've worked together on this council that we've made some real progress and some good changes. As far as expectations for today and for this strategic plan, the last time we actually adopted a strategic plan as a body was in 2015, and I suspect that nobody in this room had any part in any of it. It's been a long time since we revisited it. We tried to revisit it a little bit in 2020, that fell apart, and so I'm looking forward to moving that forward largely. And frankly, it's not because I'm dissatisfied with.
Yes, Brian Pinkston. I've been on council since January 2022. I ran once before unsuccessfully. Was that 2019?
Yep.
Did not think that I would run again, but chose to, and glad that I did. I've really enjoyed serving. It's been a real honor, and I feel like, to Lloyd's point, I feel like these have been pivotal times for the community, and I feel like there was a real critique brought to City Council and to the city as a whole, and I think that we as a community have tried to take that on board and grow from that, and I've been pleased to see what I think are some really good changes that have happened over the last couple of years. Yeah, so I want to build on that, and in terms of expectations for today, in this weekend, I'm very interested in understanding where my colleagues stand on more how I think about things. Interesting to me is I've been part of this group. Often, good ideas, that's what I have.
Mr. Rogers.
Let's go with the council first. Vice Mayor.
My name is Juan Diego Ricardo Wade, and I have been on council for the past year and a half. I came in with Brian Pinkston, and I think I ran, I had been asked many times by different people to run over the last, 20 or 30 years, but it just, I had other ways I wanted to serve the community, but I felt that 3 years ago that the community, they needed my guidance and my leadership that I felt at the time. And after I prayed for it, I asked my wife, and she said I could do it. So I did it, and so we decided to stay at because I think a good strategic plan can help keep us as a council in check. I think it's something that staff can use. We're starting to go off a little bit. They're going to say, well, listen, this is the strategic plan that y'all agreed upon, and what we're proposing doesn't go there, doesn't align with that. So I think that I'm a big proponent of strategic plans.
I ran for council because I believed that local government can play a very real role in tackling important issues in the community around inequality, climate change, and other things. That faith has been tested a few times over the past few years, but I still believe that it is true. And I believe that we have made and will continue to make a lot of important decisions that have had real meaningful impact on people's lives. And that is what I think is the most important part of council work and city government. In terms of expectations, I hope that council is able to define more clearly some of our expectations in specific policy areas, that we're able to more specifically define some terms that appear in our planning at a high level a lot of times, like equity or even something like affordable housing more specifically, and that it will play a meaningful role in setting the stage for Charlottesville to become the best run local.
And I didn't like it, and I wanted to move. And I met my late husband, and so I stayed. So I'm happy that I stayed. We raised our family here. And I've seen the city go through many adorations. And I think where we are now is we've done a lot of things in the years that I've been here, some for good, some mediocre, but I think now accountability is here because finances have changed. And we have got to adhere to the rules and regulations and policies. And if they need to be adjusted, because we're in the 21st century, headed toward the 22nd, then we need to make those adjustments. And so I'm hoping that in the next 2 days, day and a half, however many hours it may be, that we can come to a consensus about where we are and where we are going, but remaining accountable for that. It's one thing to say you're going to your money where your mouth is, but also we've got to put our best foot forward because we are one of approximately 50,000 people in this 10-mile radius, and they're expecting a lot, and they should.
Interim City Manager. I arrived here on January 31st, 2022. And I had only been in Charlotte one other time, and did not know a lot about, about the city. But when I saw this opportunity, I came to come because I was aware of some of the backstory and narrative and some of the challenges that have faced the community. And I thought with my experience that it would be not only a challenge for me, but an opportunity to help the organization working with the council get back on track for where they want to be. That's what I picked up from and these hours that we'll be together, I'm hoping that we can come out with a pretty clear, common vision about where you want to take the city. When you think about Charlottesville in 2030, 2040, where are we going? Is it the vision of the city of people? And what does that look like? And how do you get there? I find it to be a very giving and caring city in terms of values of the government to grow and participate in the goodness of the city. And what I saw a couple of weeks ago at the Tom Tom Festival is when there was so many people out from all across the city. That felt like the city that we should be proud of. Everybody's out participating, engaging in activities that support them, they all enjoy it. So I'm thinking, how do we get to that, what's going on here? People participate in what happens, and they can feel good about it.
Thank you. We'll go to Sam.
So, I knew very well the 2017 events, and I've come to find that a lot of people around the country that I've come into contact with give the city a rap that is only associated with that one event, which I don't like. And I feel as though part of my reason for being here is to create the new narrative and make sure that we can help people understand that that was a moment in time. That is not who the people who live here are. And what I would like to see happen over the next couple of days would be for us to clearly receive direction as to priorities. And council members are well aware of my love for the word discipline. So how we can identify our priorities in such a way that we recognize that it would take a great deal of effort to operationalize the work around those. And therefore discipline is necessary so that we can actually handle what is being asked of us to do.
So, Ashley, Deputy City Manager for Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I'm sorry for this long title, I did not select it. I've been here 2 years as of May the 10th. And I came aboard because there is no other in the nation Deputy City Manager for Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And I'm born and raised in Southwestern Virginia, so those of us on the state know this is about being caring and compassionate, and we can do hard things, because the thing with racial equity, diversity, and inclusion is it is not easy. To some extent, affirmative action was easy. I need a number of faces and bodies. And as long as I have that number, the federal government won't ding me. Real belonging is difficult because you have to think about everyone in the room and what's behind them, how their day even has been, how they were raised or not raised. It's challenging but rewarding work, because when you see a group of very different people in one room all moving towards the same goal because they feel comfortable in that space, it's pretty incredible. So my expectations for the strategic plan is to get a rudder from our governing body, a North Star, if you will, as to where they would like to see their community. As I've mentioned to several of you, with my background in nonprofits, I've done this work with boards. And what I used to tell my boards, and I'll say the same thing, in 3 to 5 years, if newspapers still actually exist in paper form, above the fold, what do you want it to say? And usually, remember, those lines are pretty broad. It's not necessarily the blade of grass, it's the forest, right? But what would you like your staff to move forward to so that that newspaper can become a reality? And how would you like to do that, not do that? Thinking about racial equity, diversity, and
I'm Misty Graves, I'm Director of Human Services. In June, I will have been here for 17 years. Grew up in this organization, and I'm really passionate about moving through the Department of Human Services. I think my expectations for today are a lot of what has already been said. I'm really interested in hearing what consensus you all come up with, what direction you all want to set. Like Sam and Ashley have said, just clarity so that we know, as your departments that carry out your vision, know where we need to put our energy and our priorities. And so that's what I'm looking forward to bringing back to our department is
getting folks excited and inspired about how they plug in and make the strategic plan work to give them some purpose. So I'm looking forward to what is to come.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marianne Hardy. I'm the HR director. I think I'm the newest member here. I've been here 1 year and 3 days as of today. I came to Charlottesville from the Pacific Northwest, although I was born in the Deep South. And I will say that I came here because I saw an incredible transformation process, an incredible rebuilding going on. And I felt that I could have meaning and impact. And to me, I think Charlottesville is an incredible city and place to live, and the community is just full of such rich culture and heritage, and there's just so much to our community. This is a great place to work, and I want everyone to be able to feel that this is a great place to work. And so part of this for me, in my role, is as I look at the programs and the employee, the engagement survey and things like that, and then understand as well and listen to council what's important for you guys and what's going to go into our plan as we shape that. A lot of those elements will have impact on the work that I'm doing in my department, my team. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about what that will be and where we go, and I'll continue to just buckle up and continue to really move forward. But I like the direction we're going. I feel really good about that. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's a lot of good work, and we're moving, I think, in the right direction.
Hi, I'm Steve Hawks with IT, and I've been with the city for 25 years. My expectations are just what everyone else has been saying. Many of our departments are undergoing our own strategic planning, and we want to make sure that we're aligned, the values that we're coming up with, and our vision and mission obviously are in alignment with what you all come up with, which hopefully will come out of this meeting.
Keenan Thomas. I'm the clerk of City Council. I've been in this role for 4 years, after being the deputy clerk in Lynchburg for 6 years. What I hope to get out is pretty much what I've heard already, is clarifying our priorities and goals. I pretty much touch just about every department at some point, providing information, lending a helping hand, as well as citizens. So I'd like to see a vision that citizens and employees can latch onto, and that's easy, even easy to repeat if need be. So just having that clarity, I think, would give us some guidelines that we can focus on the things we need to focus on and not be stretched so thin, and that we have some guidelines, at least for the next 5 years, that we know, okay, we can see the short term, maybe some of those other things we can add to the long-term vision, but not everything can happen all at once. But at least we have a plan to address the focus.
My name is Maxelia Robinson. I'm the Deputy Clerk of Council. One of my primary goals is to manage the appointment process for boards and commissions. My hope for this meeting is that Council gets an opportunity to just really dig deep into identifying what components it takes to truly create a world-class city, and creating a city where its most vulnerable population thrives, and also just developing a solid plan that is something that future councils can build on.
I'm Chrissy Hamill, Director of the Budget Office. I have lived here almost my entire life, went to city schools, went to college here, and now work for the city. I am invested in the work that we do. I think it's a good community. I'm also part of the team that helped with our prior version of a strategic plan, and I'm looking forward to a plan to what our mission is, and have the budget reflect that as well.
that, say this at our staff meeting, I hope that this strategic plan is not a laundry list of all the things the city does. And I hope it has clarity.
While those are a good way to get to know each other a little bit when you're talking about particular issues, you all don't get the opportunity just to share a little bit about this community. Some of you have shared a little bit about why you ran, how long you've been here, what